Good morning, early game crew. I know some of you have been waiting to hear this and have your opportunity to vent since about 4 o'clock on Saturday. Why is that, you might ask? Well, because we witnessed a colossal Carolina collapse at College Station on Saturday. And we are here to have alliteration and break it down for you and hear your reaction and your thoughts. 803-404-6100. That's the Firehouse Subs text line and the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. It's the early game. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And y'all, what we witnessed on Saturday may be the rock bottom of the season. I'm not going to say it is. Because the most dangerous words somebody can say when they're going through it is at least it can be worse.
Because we don't want the team to say, hold my beer.
Right.
Correct.
Right. Because if you fell asleep at halftime, say you pre-gamed pretty hard, noon kick, you already got up a little early, it's 30-3, and you said, you know what? I can go ahead and take a quick nap here because it's 30-3. You're up 4 scores. This is the greatest day ever. My favorite team's on the road.
It was.
The number 3 team in the country.
It was.
Until the second half happened.
There's 2 halves?
Contrary to popular belief from some people. You do have to leave the locker room at halftime. There is no mercy rule in college football. So the clock doesn't keep running. You got to go back out there. And surely, when it's 30-3 at halftime, you should be able to get a couple stops. You don't have to be the 2000 Ravens or the 2002 Buccaneers. You just got to get a couple stops, maybe get a field goal. I don't know. Just get a little. You're not required to do much. However, the final score ends up being Texas A&M 31, South Carolina 30, in what has been a historic comeback for the Aggies, or depending on your perspective, a historic collapse from South Carolina. And there's room for all of that here this morning.
That's the thing about history, is that when we see somebody getting the triumphant side of history and somebody who's celebrating a historic feat, there has to be somebody on the other side of that feat. There has to be somebody who gave up the game-winning touchdown. There has to be someone who gave up the home run. There has to be someone who let Kobe Bryant score 81 against them, right? There is somebody else on the other side. And unfortunately, the history books will reflect that we, the Gamecocks, are in history, but on the other side of the historical coin. And, yeah, man, if you were watching along with us, many of you did. Thank you very much. We had our watch-along party. It was a blast. For the first half. And I kept saying, all right, I have a sober remark that I need to give, but I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy this all the way to halftime. I kept saying this. And it wasn't because I was like, Gamecock history. I wasn't doing any of that. It was just, hey, man.
A good reminder.
We just had to finish the game. But I was on board to enjoy it. And I was like, there's a sober remark that I need to give, but I'm going to wait till halftime to give it. And, unfortunately, Texas A&M gave it for me.
They did. Yeah, they said, all right, that was fun. It's time for X Games mode here. Watch what we can do in this second half. Because they really came out of the gates. Like, to Texas A&M's credit, like, that's what great teams do, is even if they dig themselves a hole and shoot themselves in the foot, which they did a lot in that first half, and to South Carolina's credit, they were able to take advantage of everything in that first half. Marcel Reed interceptions, forcing fumbles. Dylan Stewart got in the backfield, which was maybe one of the highlight plays of the game, to force a fumble on Marcel Reed that was scooped and scored by Nick Barrett.
So many plays in that game are going to be forgotten in history because of the result of that game. Because if we win that game, some of those plays are on highlight clips, maybe in Gamecock lore, forever.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Shane Beamer special of season's not going the way you want it to, but you know what? I'd hate to be the number 3 team in the country facing them. And you know what? It wasn't like Texas A&M was having fun until that second half, right? And here's where things kind of fall apart. When just kind of looking at the drive chart, here's Texas A&M's drives in the second half, right? So they got the ball to start half number 2, and they go 8 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. They get the ball back again. 7 plays, 70 yards, touchdown. They get the ball back again. 2 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. They get the ball again at the 1-yard line. 10 plays, 99 yards, touchdown. The only drive that they had on offense that did not result in a score was from a fumble at the 1-yard line, in which it was maybe the most atrocious play call from either team in that game was Colin Klein and Mike Elko's decision to run a little trickery and try to throw the ball to your quarterback on the perimeter.
Talk about getting away with it, because if they lose that game, boy.
There aren't any cute pictures of Mike Elko and his wife signing the contract extension in his office after the game. Now, would there be? No. If anything, they might have the picture. He signs the contract extension. His wife's just sitting there with her arms crossed, staring right at him.
But you know what my favorite part of that game was, as we watched along, is we had the rarest case of the lemon booty being transferred from side to side.
Oh, it was so much transferring of lemon booty. It was an airborne contagion, and I've never experienced that. We experienced the first reverse lemon booty.
A reverse lemon booty.
Where A&M's got it in the first half. That entire stadium, probably, you could say, has lemon booty. It's tight. It's super tight. And then they start coming back. Now South Carolina's got lemon booty. And then A&M fumbles at the 1-yard line. And now all Carolina has to do is kick a field goal and they win the game. So then A&M's got lemon booty back again. Oh,
fantastic.
Man.
And again,
double reverse.
Hey, man, this would have been amazing if my team wasn't involved. If this happened somewhere else in college football land, this would have been tremendous. This would have been great. Wow, what a game. Which, by the way, I did notice a lot of people chiming in randomly through my feed, people that I don't expect to follow South Carolina, but there was a lot of, hey, what's going on in College Station? Whoa, what happened in College Station? Yo, what is... So, holding true to form, people are watching us.
And don't we get some kind of excitement from that first half? Like, okay, we have the pieces here. So, like, that's the most...
We will dig into that.
Maddening part.
Because that is part of one of my conclusions that I've drawn.
Yeah. There were many conclusions to draw from that game. And here's the worst part, is that if on Friday afternoon I hopped up in your cars and you're like, oh, my God, Elijah, what are you doing in my car? I'm like, don't worry about it. That's not the right question to ask right now. The real thing is I'm from the future, and I want to tell you the results and just tell you the final score of A&M South Carolina, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do. And they're going to be like, okay, once you finally suspend your disbelief that I popped up from the future and summoned myself into the passenger seat of your car while you're driving to or from work, and I say A&M 31, South Carolina 30, you're like, oh, dang, dude, like that sucks, but we really went to the number 3 team in the country and we gave them hell, didn't we? Yes, you did. And then I disappear. And you think you're going to feel one way about the game. And then you watch how it happened, and instead of maybe being like, shucks, we gave it our best, you are leaving that game feeling nothing but absolute disgust.
Pain.
Because you had that game won. All you had to do in the second half was the bare minimum. Honestly, you kick a field goal at some point in that second half, you win it. You get one other stop, you win it. But you gave up 4 touchdowns in the first 4 drives and then got lucky that it wasn't 5 in the first 5. That is where the disgust and the disappointment and the word choke can come into play.
And to be honest,
exactly what it was.
And to be honest, it's only 31-30 because the clock had to stop at the fourth quarter. I mean, if that game if I love my exercise, if the clock continuously runs just like this, if we don't have to have a halftime, and we just say, hey, we're skipping halftime, and we just keep playing the third quarter, we might really run them off the sticks. Get out of here. You're not playing anymore. Same thing for that fourth quarter. The clock mercifully stopped at 31-30 because it could have went on for infinity.
If they had a fifth quarter, how ugly would this game have been?
It would have been, here, everybody hold up your fives.
Hold up your fives. Fives up.
It would have been bad. It would have been terrible. So, I mean, it is an historic meltdown, obviously. And rightfully so, people have feelings.
And you are more than correct to be in them.
This is Reaction Monday, and we were going to get to your reactions.
And I know, as somebody who is just not, I covers the team, and I talk about them every day for a living, and I'm here to talk with you about your favorite team for a living. I don't get emotionally swayed one way or another during these games. I genuinely felt heartbreak for each and every single one of you. Now, before we get to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, we're going to install a rule because we have so many people on the line right now. You have 1 minute, and once 1 minute runs up, we have to drop you. So let's condense our thoughts.
Get your thoughts together, because listen, just like if you're waiting out there to call, you're just like Mike Furry on 4th and 1. Come in with a good call. Right? We got a timeout. You're out there listening and waiting. We don't want you to call in and do a bunch of, get your call ready. You got a minute. This is your best, condensed, most highly potent minute that you got. You've been stewing on it all weekend. So give it to us. Do not run inside zone with your call here.
No.
If you run an inside zone with your call here and you fibble fobble, no.
Yeah, especially if this is not first down. We're all on 4th down here, right? It is do or die.
Get yourself together, make your call, let's go. You got 1 minute.
So with that being said, it's very appropriate that we get the call started on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines on Reaction Monday by bringing in Ray. Ray, you have a minute, good sir. Good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. Good morning. Always interesting. Shea Beamer, to me, he's coach 1-286. That's his number. That's his file. That's his rank. What a meltdown. Hard to get everything in a minute, but hey, at least we finally got the ball of Nick Carver in open space. It took 4 years, but we finally did it. Look what happened.
It's pretty fast.
I think Donati's got some decisions to make. I don't see. We have to move on. We have to move on. I mean, Beamer's antics. I mean, it's. He's worse than Dabo, but he don't have Dabo's pedigree. He don't have Dabo's championship, so he's an aloof. We got to move on. We got to move on.
Thank you for the call, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. There you go. Get it solid.
Efficient.
There you go. That's what we need. That's the way to get us started. Good job.
That 1-286 he's referencing is now the record of SEC teams when trailing by 27 plus points.
Oof.
Since 2004. That's 20-plus years of football. We'll go back to AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Howard is on the line. Good morning, Howard. Welcome to the early game. Your minute starts now.
Yes, this is Howard. I agree with the caller before me. I think Shane Beamer has to go. In the first half, when we were leading 30-3, you were leading 30-3 to the number 3 team in the nation. You know that Mike Elko is going to be burning them up in halftime. We have to tell our team, look, they're going to come out with vengeance in the second half. We have to match their intensity. This is the number 3 team in the nation. Some people say the best team in the nation. But we came out in the second half like we said, okay, we got the game. And even when they scored first and we went down and we had like 4th and 1, and they have our quarterback back in the shotgun position. Our quarterback is 240 pounds. Put him under the center and go and get that 1 yard, and we can maybe go down and score a touchdown or a field goal, and we'll match that touchdown that they score. This is coaching. This has got to be coaching. And then when they score a touchdown and our players are coming up the field, Beamer is clapping his hands. No concern at all, and then they go score another touchdown.
All right,
and nobody.
The minute is up. I appreciate that, and we're going to touch on what you just said with the 4th down and what the offense did and did not do in the second half. We'll start the second segment by breaking that down, and we have a full bank of calls. We have a
Great
lot
job
to
so
get
far.
to.
Let's go.
So we'll continue the momentum. We'll keep it rolling. Coming up next here in the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work. It does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, again, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with new windows and mirrors, and Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Colonial Drive at Hardin Street. Report of an accident there. Also, hard scrabble at Clemson will be slowing you down just a little bit. Forecast looking pretty good. Sunny and 67 today, 72 tomorrow, 80 on Wednesday. Can you believe it? And maybe even 80 on Thursday. Really a great week. We should be staying, for the most part, after today. We should be in the 70s all week. Right now, it's a little bit cooler to your start. 38 on the early game.
It's Reaction Monday, and you guys are on fire right now. The phone lines are absolutely loaded. Now, I do want to address Jerome here on the YouTube stream, since they only give people a minute on a normal day who they think they are kidding. No, we're a little more liberal with our time that we give away here on the show, which I don't mind. I love talking to you guys, and you know what? I would like to have guys on for more, and all of y'all on for more than a minute. However, we only have 3 hours. It is Reaction Monday. We want to get to everybody. And then to follow it up, say they hate to hear Beamer criticism. Love it. No, I think we've been pretty fairly critical of Shane Beamer on our own this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've been listening to the show. That being said, hey, listen, we are glad that y'all are listening. We are doing well. You are doing well. You do not need to greet us. You have 1 minute. When you get on, come in hot. You got a minute. Let's go.
And to address the last caller too, the 4th and 1, I don't mind going for it in that situation in the second half, because we talked about it on the watch along that, look, you need to at least get some points on the board here. You got to keep your foot on the gas. And the way your offense was moving in that first half, you got to feel good about your chances of continuing to move the ball and give yourself a chance to score. Don't mind going for it on 4th down there at all. I do mind the play call.
Yeah, and the play call after a timeout.
Yes.
You can't have time, and then that's the best that you can come up with. There was so many problems with that, but I'm sure you all are going to mention that. So, that being said, let's roll.
Let's get to it. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll go to Joe on the line. Joe, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. So listen, hey, Preston, when I watched that game, man, the tale of two halves. I remember there's a clip that Jan used to play when Bill was working, and you guys were talking about the tale of two halves, Mr. Charles Dickens.
Mm-hmm.
That just kept coming back to my mind, man. But if I had $1 for every time I said 30-3, I'd probably have $1 million in my pocket right now. It's crazy, man. I'm not going to get on here and bash Shane. It's hard. It's hard being the SEC head coach. So whatever the university does, man, I hope that it's in the best interest of all the players, man. So, terrible, heartbreaking loss this past weekend, man. I don't think I've ever been so hurt over one game. But anyway, I'm a diehard Gamecock fan, and I wear garnet and black until I go to the grave, man.
My God.
You guys have a great day.
Appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate you listening as always.
Yeah, he's the quote of "I've said 30-3 so many times. If I had $1, I'd be making a whole lot of money." That made me think: is this now Carolina's 28-3, like with the Atlanta Falcons? Now, clearly the stakes are different, right? Because the Atlanta Falcons were playing for a Super Bowl, so it's 28-3 is on its own tier of choking away an opportunity. But 30-3, just by virtue of numbers.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you really quickly why it's not, and then we'll go back out to the phone. It's not because, to be very honest, if we look ourselves in the mirror, we're not very good. So there was no stakes. We didn't lose anything. Even if we won that game, we were just going to win a trip to the Gasparilla Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as if we absolutely blew something, whereas maybe some of those games against Tennessee where we actually blew chances to do something with our lives. This was bad, but it's more good for Texas A&M, I'll say that.
Yeah.
That being said, let's go back out there.
We will at some point try to rank this in the pantheon of heartbreaking Gamecock losses, and I think we'll make a poll out there of some sort and see exactly where you guys think this one lands historically. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Let's get to Sarge on the line. Sarge, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to ask Preston, what type of coach do Shane Beamer identify as? Offense, defense? Because it seems like at some point the head coach should step in and start making some calls other than their coordinators. I mean, I'm not a Carolina Gamecock fan, but 2 games I really wanted them to win was this one in Alabama. I'll take your comments.
Appreciate your Sarge. I think that's a great question because his supposed strength was that he can do everything. But when you do everything, you kind of do nothing. And he hasn't been able to step in anywhere and assert his expertise anywhere. And in fact, his expertise is supposed to be on special teams, and we haven't been at an advantage on that this year either.
They've been outside the top 25 in special teams.
So I think that's a great observation, Sarge, where a offensive coach steps in, makes offensive calls, or at least tweaks the offensive game plan. Same thing if a defensive guy. Shane has never purported to be that, and it, quite frankly, has been showing.
I think a lot of that, like in terms of what his identity as a coach is, kind of molded from his father of Beamer ball, defense, special teams. We're going to find different ways to score, and that should be able to supplement what you do on offense to make it what could be a close game go to a game that is in your favor, a lot of making your own luck type stuff. However, when you're not very good on offense and you have an offensive year this year, which is one of the worst. Offensive, yes, which is the best way to put it, especially in second halves, and we'll get to the second half numbers for this team this year. Instead of using defense and special team scores to supplement your offense, you're banking on it to win you games. That's how you go 3-7, right? If I had an offense that wasn't going to score any points and I am hoping and praying that defense and special team scores win me ball games, I'm probably going to go 3-7, right? And that's where, again, I think the largest disconnect in this program is right now is one of the reasons why you can't follow up successful seasons is because you haven't been able to build an offense, whether it is play calling, whether it is coaching staff, whether it is construction of your offensive line, that has been conducive enough to allow defense and special team scores to supplement your offense as opposed to banking on them.
Yeah, and I would just follow up with when Frank Beamer, Senior Beamer, had a generational quarterback, generational talent at quarterback, they won a national championship.
Went to it, yeah.
We have a generational talent at quarterback, and we're 1-7 in the SEC.
Yeah. I don't think Michael Vick was going 1-7 in the SEC that year. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Now it's up to Ernest. Ernest is on the line. Ernest, good morning. Welcome to the early game, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, we started out with Beamer ball. Second half was what I call Screamer ball. You got a product out there. But you got somewhere in that barrel is still a bad apple. It's got to be removed or you're going to poison this team forever. Heck, right now, I don't even think we can beat AC Flora. And I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, man. Ernest came in with the fire.
That's what we need. You come in with the fire. Good job.
Whoop. Oh, Screamer ball. I had to write that one down. I think that's probably getting a revisit during winters. Oh, good stuff there from Ernest. We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Taylor is on the line with us. Taylor, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, fellas. Rough game on Saturday, and I tell you, the two plays that really bugged me are that 4th and 1 and that 4th and 12. You know, we really had a chance to close out the deal on 4th and 12 there, and the defense couldn't quite do it. But everyone's talking about the defense, and it's really the offense that has been, you know, the Achilles heel. 0 points in the second half, and I think that told Beamer, I need to hire someone else and make a lot of changes. I don't know about you guys, but his clock management skills have really digressed.
Yeah.
Right before half, he had 5 seconds left, and he just let 5 seconds run off the clock without even knowing. I mean, like, bro, wake up. I mean, I coach middle school. I'm looking at the clock. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And another thing for Beamer too is he's supposed to be a special team guru. We can't have a kicker kick longer than a 30-yard field goal. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Another thing too. That's another thing too, Taylor. Yeah, Taylor,
great call, great points.
We are running up against it right now. I want to address that on the other side and take more calls here in the early game.
Keep them coming.
Hey, it's Jen for Carolina Stone Craftsman. Maybe you're wanting to do something in your kitchen or bath and you need to replace a countertop. Well, I'm telling you what, Carolina Stone Craftsman, just outside Columbia in Chapin, is the place to go. They do understand those kinds of projects. They can be a significant investment, and that's why they work really hard to deliver the highest quality, most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while still providing the best customer service. It's simple. Great countertops with no compromises. When we started working with Carolina Stone Craftsman, we remodeled a couple of bathrooms, of course, needed some countertops in there. We weren't sure what we wanted. They helped us through that process. And then every step of the way, from choosing everything to installation, was absolutely flawless. So if you're looking for countertops for your kitchen or bath, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen sent you. They are family owned and operated. Love that. Locally owned, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. Visit them online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. On the highways for your Monday morning, we are looking at Hardscrabble at Clemson Road. That is one area where there's an accident. Colonial Drive at Hardin, also an accident there. So be mindful this morning. We don't want to do too much Mondaying. But we're not weather-wise because it's going to be sunny today. 67 for the high. Now the overnight low, a little cooler, 38. That's going to be the coolest overnight we have this week, so that's good news. 72 tomorrow, 80 on Wednesday and Thursday. Overnight lows are going to be in the 50s after that. Right now, though, it is that cool 38 on 107.5 The Game.
in what will be our maybe most active Reaction Monday yet, after South Carolina lets a 30-3 lead at halftime turn into a 31-30 loss.
Magic. Voila.
Houdini-esque.
Yeah, for sure.
Make this very large 4-touchdown lead disappear. And all you have thoughts, 803-404-6100.
Reset them again.
That's
Just
right.
in case you're joining in.
We got
a lot of folks coming in. We have 1 minute, so get your fastball ready. Come in. Give us your best. Give us all you got, because we want to make sure we hear from everybody.
Exactly. Want to hear from everybody, get everybody's thoughts, get them in as much as humanly possible. Like to get to the text line, too, because, buddy, it's bumping.
Appreciate y'all out there, too.
The text line right now is a club, and the fire marshal just got called, right? That's exactly where we're at there. But we'll go to Monty, who's been waiting very patiently. Monty, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, gentlemen. 50 years of Gamecock angst and letdown speaking here. This is probably the worst thing I've ever seen. It's right up there with Navy. The history of this program is completely evidenced in the fact that probably 90% of us were not comfortable at halftime, and we knew better than to get too excited because the other foot was going to drop. Everything you need to know about the present and future of this football team is evidenced in the previous coaching hire and the current coaching hire. You hired a guy that was fired from the same job 200 miles away, and to replace him, you hired a guy that had never been a head coach, that was just a leave it to Beaver, all shucks, next door kind of guy. The pre-snap and post-snap penalties that this team incurs reference the LSU game from last year, which was won until we had a stupid incident that did not affect the play at all, essentially cost us that game. When you're coming out after a change of possession, when you're coming out after halftime or a TV break, and you have to take a timeout to avoid a delay of game, that is 100% coaching.
Yep.
When you have a 30-0 lead and you have one of the best quarterbacks in college football, you have the fastest offensive player in college football, and you can't get in field goal position once or twice, that is all coaching.
Yep, Monty, that's, some really good points right there. And you hit on the clock stuff, too, Monty.
Nice.
You're hitting on the clock stuff, too. Appreciate the call. And, Monty, what I really want to get to right there is the clock stuff. Taylor mentioned it, too. That the clock management has gotten worse over the last couple of years. And it's not even the first time this month that we're sitting here talking about clock management at the end of the first half. Because deep in the second half, at this point when it's 27-3, and it might not seem at the time that the difference between winning and losing in this game could be settling for a field goal or punching that ball in the end zone, but, buddy, it would have made the biggest difference in the world.
Absolutely.
And in any point in that game, when you are the underdog like that, you're on the road against the number 3 team in the country, you need to kick them in the groin as many times as possible. And a touchdown there making it 34-3, even a 31-point lead, that essentially makes it almost more than 4 possessions, right? Because if we go back and look at how many possessions Texas A&M got in that game, it was 5. Meaning you really only need about 1 or 2 stops. You really need 1 or 2 stops anyway. But a touchdown there makes a world of difference. And after a completed pass, when you let the clock run from 19 seconds down to 11, you essentially took away any chance at an extra play. You limited your scoring opportunities down to 2 plays, 1 quick pass and a field goal. You would have liked to have had 1 other play.
Yeah, and I think it's very clear when you say that the clock management has gone and regressed the past 2 years. Well, I think there's a clear and obvious thing that happened 2 years ago, and that's Pete Limbo left the program. His role was as the associate head coach, the person that was going to be in Shane Beamer's ear, the one that was going to be giving him advice. Joe DeCamillis is not that guy. Even though I see him trying to fulfill the same role, he's not. And so, yeah, there has been an obvious regression in game management from the head coach all the way through the rest of the staff.
And when you have a 30-3 lead going into the second half, it's not just being aggressive and executing stuff, because that's second half football in general. A lot of that's game management. You have to be able to still manage the game and not let it get out of control after A&M scores. Because even like us sitting there in Studio 803 for the watch along, we knew A&M was going to do something, right? You didn't think they were just going to roll over and die and let you beat them by 40 in their home stadium. They were going to have a counterpunch. How did you respond to the counterpunch? And you just didn't. The fact of the matter is, you flinched, especially on defense. They scored 4 straight times. And it wasn't like, it was a pick 6 or something. They were methodical drives, including 1 2-play 80-yard drive, right? And they would have had 5 straight scoring drives if Colin Klein and Mike Elko didn't decide to get whatever the hell that was on the goal line. They even gave you a gift to get the ball back and only need a field goal to win it. Oh, that's what makes that a little more disheartening. Back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We will get to Wayne, who has been waiting patiently. Wayne, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hi, y'all. How y'all doing this morning? I know everybody's a little angry, and I want to not waste my minute here. So it's not the way I want to announce. I'll call you later this week. Quickly. Second worst experience this betting period. I betted on Vanderbilt beating Alabama. Was the only bet I had to make to win $2,300. Had the game won 23-14. The Giants ran into the end zone with 17 seconds left to beat them 29-14, and I lost the bet. So therefore, that was hurtful. This game, entertaining, very entertaining. But all I got to say is that we had them. We know who they were. And we let them off the
hook. That's how you make
Wayne.
A call, Wayne.
Yes, Wayne channeling his inner Denny Green. Honestly, Texas A&M, yeah, they are who we thought they were. Because what did Texas A&M do anything other than not run the ball well that we talked about all week? That's what they are. They're really good. And South Carolina most definitely let them off the hook. One more here before the break. Let's get to Jim, who has also been waiting patiently. Appreciate your patience. Good morning, Jim. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning. So I'm going to go 3 quick points. 50-year Gamecock fan here. So number one, I don't understand why we're spending so much money to upgrade Williams-Brice Stadium when we need to be putting a consistent winner on the field, and that means using our money on the portal. Number two, okay, I really would like to see us hire a big-time coach. But I don't think that we can get anyone better than Beamer right now. I don't think Dabo's a really good coach. But what I think Clemson did is spend a lot of money on outstanding assistants, and I really think that's the approach that we need to take. And finally, my bad feeling is I think that we're going to see a mass exodus of the players to the portal in this offseason. I hope I'm wrong, but I really think that's going to happen. All right, I'll hang up. Appreciate y'all's show.
Great call, way to get in under the buzzer. Great job.
Yeah.
3 succinct points. Nice.
I love it. Oh, that's what I'm talking about right there. But in today's college football, when that's part of the risk of having a really bad season, is that mass exodus is possible, right? It leaves the door open for that mass exodus. And there is really something to be said to how an athletic department spends their money, because yes, renovations are nice. Renovations can help the game day experience. But in order to win in college football, as we're seeing across the board, Texas Tech, investment in the roster is a must. We'll get to more of your calls on the other side as we continue our reaction to the loss to A&M next on the early game. Zoom! We'll continue Reaction Monday, going back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6100. Hank has been waiting patiently on the line. Good morning, Hank. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. I'm not going to get on Shane too much, but, my issue is, it was 31-30 with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And you just got to make one play. I mean, even though they got it down to the one, the defense had made a play, the play right before it. So even with the kooky play that A&M threw, there was still a chance that they don't get in. And I just, we've got to get to a point where you make that one play. I had an issue with how we kind of started going to the zone and the quarters coverage coming out of halftime. And when you got a chance to upset a team like that and you really don't have anything to lose, you got to, where Shane's got to grow up is you've got to go in there and make it where it's 0-0. And I think the other last thing is we've got to find a leader next year on the team. I mean, A&M was down 30-3, and that young sophomore quarterback gathered the team together and say, we're going to go and do this. And I just seemed like it looked like we look at deer in headlights when we get down. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the call, Hank. And a couple of really good points there. I want to get Preston's thoughts on the quarters coverage that you brought up. But in terms of mental fortitude, one team had it. One team didn't have a lick of it, right? It takes a lot of guts to be down 27 at halftime. And for a quarterback like Marcel Reed to rally them, because he rallied them.
They showed it on the TV. They showed it on the TV broadcast. He brought everybody together. He gave them some speech or whatever the case was, and it was clear that everybody was locked into him. That is obviously his role. Lenoris is not that guy, right? He doesn't have to be. He could just be the best player on the team, but somebody else has to be that guy, and there is nobody else on the offensive side of the ball, and it doesn't seem like on the defensive ball is willing to fill that role. So ideally, you want your best player to also be the vocal leader. Doesn't always have to happen that way, but somebody else has to fill that role, and it doesn't feel like there's anybody there, because while the ship was sinking, you did not see anybody trying to rally the troops. It just felt like we're just looking around, looking at how is this happening. So I think that's a great point, Hank.
Yeah, a lot of shell shock, and we will jot down the quarters coverage thing. We'll
come
break
back
that
to
down more for watch the tape Tuesday.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We'll look that one through a little more closely. We'll go back to AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Steve has been waiting patiently. Good morning, Steve. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
This y'all. Anyway, the last caller called in about 2-3 callers ago. He said Dabo Swinney wasn't a good coach. I don't think he is either, but Dabo Swinney, the first 4 years at Clemson, realized he needed help. So he took a pay cut to go get Brent Venables and the guy who coached at Virginia, and Clemson took off. And both of those coaches are head coaches now. Both of them are winning. So my thing is this: Beamer needs help, and from him to, like when Alabama was running, when the offensive coordinator left, he went to a name. He didn't go to East Carolina to bring somebody in. He went to a name. Beamer needs to go to the director and put the money out there, get 2 well-named offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, help him and teach him how to coach. Because Beamer is a good guy, but to me, he seems like he's confused. It don't look like he. I don't know. I think the coaching is to a limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate the call there, Steve. I think there's definitely need for help.
Yeah, and
there's absolutely need for help.
That's something we can look at a little bit later, because there was a history with Dabo as far as him making some calls. He had to do it on his staff by the name of Billy Napier. And he said, I don't think this is getting it done. I need to go get Chad Morris. And then he said, this is not getting it done. I'm going to build up my own and bring along Tony Elliott and Jeff Scott. So there is a history. He also went and got Brent Venables. There is a history, and that's why this decision that Shane is going to have to make here very shortly is going to be the biggest one of his coaching career, if he wants to remain a head coach here or in the future.
I think his future kind of hinges on that, and I don't think that's hyperbolic at all. And also, side note, in terms of Brent Venables, just because of Hank's call, kind of reminding me that, what Brent Venables did this weekend, Alabama killer. He's now 2-0 as a head coach against Alabama. He was the defensive coordinator for 2 wins.
Alabama killer. I love it.
against Alabama. So when Steve mentioned that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm noticing a trend here. Brent Venables, Alabama killer. I know Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer hate to see Brent Venables walking through that door. Just noticing a trend. We noticed some things here on Reaction Monday, so we'll continue to notice stuff.
Take a breath, another hour.
It's the fastest moving hour in sports radio, and we're about to have the next 2 fastest hours in sports radio. Patrick, we'll get to you to start off hour number 2. More of your reaction to A&M's 31-30 comeback win over Carolina next.
Still working an earlier slowdown, Colonial Drive at Hardin Street. And on the northeast side, Hardscrabble Road at Clemson Road. Beautiful forecast on the way. Sunny today, 67 for the high, going to be 72 tomorrow. And then will be potentially 80 on Wednesday and Thursday. Just kind of crazy weather right now, but we certainly welcome that. Overnight low tonight into tomorrow, 38, which is where we are currently. It's 38 on the early game.
After leading 30-3 at halftime, South Carolina Gamecocks go on to score no points in the second half, while simultaneously giving up 28. You know math, Preston Thorne.
That's the problem. It wasn't that we didn't score any, it's that they scored a lot.
They scored a lot. And the final score ended up being Texas A&M 31, South Carolina 30. Texas A&M remains undefeated, and South Carolina remains heartbroken on what could have been for a 2025 season. Hour number 2 of the Early Game and Reaction Monday starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We are helping you get through and talk through this loss on Saturday. And it's going to take a lot of talking through. 803-404-6100. That's the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Patrick has been waiting patiently. He's on the line with us right now. Patrick, good morning. Welcome to the Early Game.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Pretty good.
I don't know if it's a coaching problem or a quarterback issue, but I try to understand why you have a 6'5" freakazoid at wide receiver, and you only put the ball in his hands 3 times the entire game, but yet you put the ball in Jaden Sellers' hands 8 times during the game. I just don't understand why they're not stretching the field and throwing the ball to Harbor and at least getting a pass interference call down the field versus a dump play or a run play to Jaden. Maybe you can explain it to me, and I'll listen on the radio.
Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Appreciate it, Patrick. In terms of targets, in terms of what they actually end up getting targeted, they got targeted the same, right? Jaden Sellers is credited with 6 targets. Nick Harbor was 6. Nick Harbor also had that injury kind of where he falls a little awkwardly, and it looked like he might have gotten like the breath knocked out of him, or, you know, they ended up getting him a little more further evaluated while they were in College Station. Just to make sure nothing else happened.
In the most 2025 thing, per his IG.
Per his IG, yes. We can confirm that he was seen by medical professionals in Texas. But, yeah, I think the more we go along this year and the more we see some of the biggest plays this season made by Nick Harbor, why it's maybe a little more dumbfounding that he doesn't get 10 targets a game. You know, because like we see it, he's gotten him better. If we want to talk about guys who actually have improved,
he has
over the course of the last couple of years, because there is a player development issue with the program right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we've seen some development from some certain guys, and last year doesn't happen without significant player development over the course of 3 years. Offensively, you do not have that same type of development. I can make the exception for Nick Harbor, because once he caught that ball in space on Saturday, it became a foot race. And I can't name a single player in college football
not going to win that one.
That's winning that foot race.
Not going to win that one. And I think that player development issue hints to the idea of Jaden Sellers, which all props to Jaden Sellers for getting on the field and making himself a useful piece of the offense. But to me, that means that there's no development on the other pieces that was supposed to be there. Mazio Bennett, the other freshmen, the higher recruited freshmen that were coming in. So props to Jaden for getting his way onto the field. But to me, that hints at a bigger problem because we had other people there and they have not filled in that space.
No, nowhere near as adequately, right? And another thing, too, that we haven't even gotten to get to yet in terms of player development, like the running back position, you haven't gotten a breakout game, really, from somebody. And the leading rusher on Saturday was Jawarn Howell, who we haven't seen hardly any.
Where's he been?
He got 3 carries on Saturday for 30 yards.
And it wasn't that he just had 3 carries. He looked as if he was the part on those 3 carries. And we've had questions about the running back rotation all year, and they did it again. They started the game in a little bit of 2-back stuff with Jawarn Howell and Matt Fuller, 2 guys who people have been clamoring for. They looked really good in that situation. They go to a 1-back situation. They bring in Rasul Faison, who has been less than impressive this year. Not necessarily hasn't lived up to all of the hullabaloo that was preseason when he thought he was going to be RB1. He just has not been that. And we've questioned what the running back rotation is, and we don't have any good answers. They tried to say it was about some personnel things when we go run 1-back. Well, guess what? When there's 1-back, it can still be Jawarn Howell for the 1-back stuff. It doesn't have to be another guy. So that's another question that should be asked, but also that goes to development because you're bringing in Rasul Faison as an older guy. He's not going to be here next year.
Nope.
So why haven't we invested in those younger guys who have been in the program, who will be with the program? They probably should be getting the bulk of the carries, and they're not.
So I guarantee you A&M didn't prepare to see Jawarn Howell on Saturday.
And he looked good. He did.
And he only had 3 carries. And he is picking up 10 yards a pop, right? Offensively, in terms of running the ball, if you take out sacks, right, against the rushing total, you're picking up over 5 yards per carry against that run defense. Like the only other teams really this year to do that against A&M are teams like Notre Dame, right? 2 best running backs in college football, the best 1-2 running back punch in college football. Arkansas, who has a ridiculously athletic quarterback who can make plays and ran a ton on A&M. And then Missouri, who is just stretch outside zone. They have mastered that to a T, and Ahmad Hardy did something crazy over the weekend too. That's just how good that rushing attack is, right? And you did something in terms of efficiency as well as almost anybody else. It didn't matter, though, did not account when it mattered most, because a lot of that rushing was in the first half. In the second half, it completely falls apart, and ultimately that's how a 30-3 lead gets vanquished. And what makes a show like this maybe difficult to do and easy to do at the same time is because there's so many different things that go into losing a 27-point lead in 2 quarters that it's hard to just pinpoint one of those issues. We'll go back to AAA Heat and Air phone lines. Gene is on the line with us. Good morning, Gene. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, fellas. I'm going to pinpoint that one thing. And, Preston, as you as a defensive player, former defensive player, the thing I don't understand is in 2 games, I feel like that coaching staff has blew the Alabama game and they blew that Texas A&M game, because when they came out in the second half against A&M, the pressure that they were putting on that young quarterback, they never did it again. They went into that prevent defense, the same thing they did against Alabama and Ty Simpson. They had Ty Simpson where he couldn't find a completion. They had that quarterback for A&M. He couldn't find a completion. He was throwing it to our guys. And they come out in the second half, and I think they go in a zone where they try to prevent from losing instead of go win the football game. And I'll listen. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Gene.
Appreciate it, Gene. Great call. That's the second caller that's mentioned the seemingly strategic switch up from defense from Clayton White and the defense. I'm going to have to go back and watch the tape Tuesday, or we'll watch it today, and we'll come back and we'll discuss that tomorrow. But I think it's pretty evident that something clearly changed in the second half. And strategically, that you're right, Gino. Those are 2 games where it felt like there was a strategic change up in the way that the defense was called in the second half of those games.
And even if it wasn't, because we're still studying it a little bit closer, right? There can be 2 different things that happen. Either they did go play in a more of a prevent defense, they go into quarters coverage, they're playing a more conservative approach to maintaining the lead, or they're just not getting to the quarterback as much by also applying the same thing, which is why when I go back and watch this, I will be feverishly counting rushers to the quarterback on each snap, right? When you can fully watch through all of it. Because the one big difference to me, no matter what the schematic change was or wasn't, is the fact of the matter is you did not get anywhere near the same pressure on Marcel Reed in the second half. And he had way too much time at times to be able to pick you apart. And also, to his credit, they threw quicker, right? You also had a hard time defending the middle of the field, especially in that second half. Like, I think it was early in that game, like on the 2-play 80-yard touchdown drive, Anthony Bethel-Roman had that one just cut right across a safety's face, catches it, and then it cuts up field and picks up, 65-something yards on that play. The explosives you gave up in the passing game, even if you were in a more conservative defense, incredibly inexcusable. And a lot of that comes from just not being able to get pressure in Marcel Reed's face, because your pressure definitely impacted him in that first half. That completely shifted in half number 2. And I do agree with Gene. If we are to pinpoint one thing, I think the defense surrendering 4 touchdowns on consecutive drives in the second half is the thing that we can look to, because as one caller very well pointed out, the comeback was complete with like 10 minutes to go in the game. A&M took the lead with 10 minutes. You realistically blew the lead in quarter number 3.
In third quarter. It happened in the third quarter. And yes, I guess here's my defensive bias flying right here. So you know who I am. You know where my POV is. Yes, we gave up 4 touchdowns in a row. I understand that. However, in between that, the offense gave nothing.
Nothing.
The offense gave nothing. And so you're hoping maybe, okay, cool, we know this is Texas A&M. We know they're a good team. We understand that. We might give up some points here. But can you give us some space to breathe? Can you kick a field goal to stop the bleeding? Can you just, put the tourniquet on the blood just for a little while till we can get ourselves together? The offense did not provide that at all. So, yes, in a loss, it is a total team effort, and you can see how it was a collapse on everybody's part.
Now, if we look at the drive chart for the offense, we already broke it down what it was for A&M, right? Which was touchdown, 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 fumble, and then taking knees. So really, that's 5. We don't count that last.
Fumble going in.
Yeah. So every single drive for A&M either went into the end zone or the ball was recovered on like the 1 yard line, right? Or it was a fumble. They were at the 1 yard line.
The stupidest of all possible fumbles.
Oh, buddy, and Mike Elko and Colin Klein are so off the hook. They're so off the hook because that was laughably atrocious. Maybe was that triple reverse lemon booty after that? Because then they have it after giving the ball back up. I'm telling you, it was an airborne contagion at College Station on Saturday. But South Carolina's drive chart in the second half. 8 plays, 45 yards, turnover on downs. Don't hate going for it there because you eventually got the ball into A&M territory. You had a chance to put points on the board, right? And if you don't feel confident in your kicker making a long field goal, going for it, I still say is the right move. I just don't like the play call they used.
Okay, cool. We know where we're going for it. Have something in your bag ready for it. Do not go for it with an inside zone. That is unacceptable. After you wasted a timeout to call this play, we all got together, and the best that we came up with was the play that has not been working all year. And then your excuse is going to be, well, we just can't run the ball. We know that.
For 10 games in.
You know that.
For 10 games
Figure something out. Put it in 16's hand. Get on the edge. I don't know.
Throw the ball.
Maybe throw the ball, whatever. But that was not the answer, man.
No. And also that goes back to the timeout management. Probably could have used more timeouts later in the game. Got to keep those. Got to keep your timeouts. Well, that happened, and then you go 3-and-out punt. A glorified 3-and-out where you got a first down the first play, punt after picking up 16 yards. Then you had another 3-and-out in which you gained a whopping, and by gained I mean you lost 12 yards. 3 plays, negative 12 yards, punt. And then season on the line, you get a first down, or season as in bowl eligibility. Let me clarify. You get the ball with 1:07 left, a gift from A&M. You move the chains a couple times. You're getting close to midfield. A field goal wins it. You end up with a 4th and 16? But 2 plays later, it was 2nd and 1. And I think that is the ultimate microcosm of this team this year. The same drive that we talked about against LSU that cost you when you finally had a chance, right? Your offense moved the ball a little bit enough to get past LSU's 50. You finally get a chance. You have a 2nd and 1. And the furthest you've gone down the field in that game, penalties make it 3rd, 4th, and long, right? Same thing in this game. You have a chance to rectify the wrongs and the sins that you committed in the second half. You get it to 2nd and 1, a chance to move the ball into A&M territory and get to set up a potential game-winning field goal, and you wind up with it 4th and 16. Unfortunately for this football team, that is kind of a microcosm of how this season has gone so far. We'll continue taking your reaction here for the early game morning meeting, and we'll also just give you a slight update because we'll continue getting to texts and calls. One team on campus did win over the weekend. We'll tell you who that is coming up next.
Press here for our friends at Integrated Media. Listen, we've been trying to tell you the year it would go by fast, and guess what? It has. We are late in the season. That does not matter. You can still get your setup ready with Integrated Media. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof, Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors, so you can have all your devices playing. You can have your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone, your TV. All of them could be working with no lag, so you can watch whatever game, sports that you want to watch at the same time. From home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is who you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
I-20 westbound after Bush River Road, do have a report of an accident there. And in Columbia Pickens Street at Wheat, we do have a slowdown. Sunny today and tomorrow, 67 for the high today. Now that overnight low is going to be kind of cool again, 38. And then sunny and 72 tomorrow will be around 80 on Wednesday and Thursday. So definitely a case of, this is why we live here, 38 currently on the early game.
Reaction Monday continues. And, of course, we'll get your reaction, 803-404-6100. We've gotten a lot of phone calls, and we'll continue getting to those phone calls because we want to get to everybody. But there are a bunch of text messages first, and I appreciate one texter on the Firehouse Subs text lines. Restraint here says, good morning, crew. I may call in a bit, just as well give out the number for the FCC. I appreciate the self-awareness. I appreciate that. And because it is 7:15, and because this is what we do every day, maybe we can take a breath because it is the morning meeting.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day.
Even if you have to talk yourself into it.
Let's go.
That's why we do this.
That's why we do this.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
We're going to make you one.
Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
See, you don't need this when things are going great because things are already going great. You need this when things on days are like today. So you have to remind yourself. You have to talk yourself into it. Look yourself in the eye. Say it's going to be a great day.
Yes.
That's why you do these types of things. Not for good days, but for days when you really need it, like today.
One of my favorite stories from like the NBA bubble back in 2020 when they had to finish the season at Disney World. Mason Plumlee was in an elevator playing for the Brooklyn Nets, right? So at this point, he played the final games of the regular season, whatever, and they were in the playoffs. Shocking, the Nets in the playoffs, I know. But they were in a playoff series, and he's in the elevator, and there's like a report from like another teammate from like a long-form story where they could hear him mumbling to himself, I love basketball. I love basketball. This is fun. I love basketball. I'm going to have fun.
Got to do it.
I love basketball.
You have to do it.
So it's, that's what we're going to have to do. You're going to have to do today, but we're going to have fun with it. One texter to the text line says, good morning, Jen, Elijah, and Preston. I need somebody to be responsible enough to talk about Lenoris. He does not get a free pass for the mistakes to happen out there with the offense. We still have receivers out there doing jumping jacks trying to get his attention as he's trying to make a run option. Is Superman somebody? Please humor me and talk about this. Well, you asked, and we'll give you our takes on it. There's been a regression there,
absolutely,
with Lenoris that I think absolutely needs to be discussed. And I think it's one of the big reasons, not just play calling, because Mike Shula is the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach. You have to be able to develop that type of player. The way he ended last season does not make him a finished product, right? There's still development that needs to go on, and you still need to be able to create your offense around the things that he does really well. And the inability to develop him past good to consistently really good for an entire 12-game season as opposed to the back six has been one of the biggest failures of this program this season.
Yeah, maybe even more so than Mike Shula not being a proficient play caller was that he's proven to be a lack of a quarterback coach also. And in that situation and this goes back to Shane Beamer, when Shane Beamer hired him, it was supposed to be in the continuity, in the name of continuity. That did not happen. Furthermore, once you fire Mike Shula, then I'd be remiss not to mention that as of now, Lenoris' quarterback coach is Davis Cutter. And you can go back and if the name Cutter sounds familiar,
Koetter.
If that sounds familiar, if you're a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, maybe that might sound a little bit familiar to you.
Boise State
fan, yes, of the son of Dirk Cutter. No problem with him being his son. Huge problem with him having zero experience in this position. So the person who has been granted the most generational talent that we've ever had walk through this program has zero experience coaching quarterbacks. That is a problem. That is not Lenoris' issue.
And I was at that game. Why can't South Carolina have anything nice? Why? Why? It's so frustrating, man. Like, I like Shane. I do. And for a while, I was trying to be his defender. But I don't know how you can defend what happened Saturday. I really don't. Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't think terminating him is the right cause because there's just too many jobs open and everything else, and you're not going to be able to get a big name hire this year. It's just not going to happen. But he's got to make a splash with the OC. He's got to make, like, a big change needs to happen because if not, then this fan base is already lost. You're going to lose them even faster if not. So But hey, that's all I've got. It's going to be a great day, like y'all said. I hope y'all have a great day as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
There you go.
I love the ending there. I love the ending of that. Yeah, between the rather having his wisdom teeth pulled out again.
I have somebody who used to say he'd rather have his spleen taken out with a shrimp fork.
Oh,
So,
creative and gory. Yeah, that's two birds, one stone there. But yeah, I think that's a pretty shared sentiment, and I don't blame anybody for feeling that way. And I think
you can feel however you feel. You deserve you deserve all your feelings.
but with Lenoris, is it almost like, I don't understand a quarterback's mind, truly, but like, are they programmed so that then you've got to deprogram? Like how, or is it just a lot of scrambling for him to adjust? Like, I would think there are just some innate things that you know to do, and you have certain visions, and you should be able to see this going on and this going on. So is it more of he personally has regressed, or his mind is mush at this point because he's had so many different people and play calls and all the things are happening?
there's a lot of good points there, because look, this is the second offensive coordinator in 2 years. He has played 2 seasons as the starting quarterback. He's had 2 different play callers, 2 different offensive coordinators, 2 different quarterbacks coach, because they're also the quarterbacks coach there too. A lack of continuity does hurt the development of a quarterback. It's that type of position where continuity matters a ton. And how many quarterbacks that are in the draft every year do we hear, yeah, had a struggling season, but they've had how many coordinators in different years? Because that does hurt. That does hurt in terms of development.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that's frustrating in watching is because you still see the flashes of things that's happening. And I said it on the broadcast, on the live cast, which 500 of y'all tuned in for us. We appreciate you.
Appreciate that.
On the
Yep.
watching view, what I said, if you remember that touchdown that he threw to Van Dreves, that is the reason why he is still going to be very high on NFL draft boards, because he can still do things physically that you cannot reproduce. The problem is it feels like he's going through too many things mentally, and whether it's making the reads or making the appropriate play, or hey, Lenoris, it's 4th down, dog. You can't run out of bounds.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
That ball's got to go in the air.
That ball has to go in the air. So whether there's awareness issues and things like that, that's going to have to be beefed up in order for him to fulfill and maximize his talent.
We told you we'd give you the good news over the weekend. Dawn's team. There was a couple of texts I did read that say, get us, Dawn, save us. The women's basketball team did beat Southern Cal in the battle for the real USC in Los Angeles, 69-52. Joyce Edwards did it again, leading the team with 17 points. Now, didn't necessarily light it up from the field, but defensively they held Southern Cal to 7 points in the 4th quarter. A little bit of a different tune than we're talking with the football team. So a top 10 win within the first 2 weeks of the season.
They dominated the 4th quarter.
They did. South Carolina did not. And that's been an issue. And we'll continue getting to that next.
Austin Avenue near 302 at the traffic circle. There's an accident there. Also Green Street near Pine. I-20 westbound just after Bush River Road. It appears we have a slowdown due to an earlier accident. And if you're in downtown Columbia, be mindful Pickens Street at Wheat. Also an accident there. 67 with sunshine today, 72 tomorrow, 80 for Wednesday and Thursday. So great forecast on the way. One more morning of being a little cooler. Tonight into tomorrow, it'll be an overnight low of 38. After that, our overnight lows will be in the 50s, so not too shabby. And it is currently 38 on the early game.
We'll get back to your calls, 803-404-6100. That's AAA Heating and Air phone lines and the Firehouse Subs text line. But we did end the last segment on one thing that I did want to touch on before we get to your calls. Dominating the fourth quarter, obviously one of the 5 things this team has, we've talked about ad nauseum this year, that they have in the practice facility that they want to do on a game-to-game basis. And it's this one thing that they've only done twice this year in the 10 games they've played. And yesterday I went through and looked and found a lot of disturbing stuff when it comes to how this team is finishing games or lack thereof. So I'm just going to read a few of these off here for you. The overall point total in the fourth quarter this year, South Carolina has been outscored 68-28. In the last 3 games alone, they've been outscored 53-7. In the fourth quarter. It's an average fourth quarter score of 6.8 to 2.8. They have 4 fourth quarter touchdowns in 10 games this season. Only 3 of them have come on offense because of a Swain punt return against Virginia Tech. And 2 of those other 4 all year came against Virginia Tech. So they only have 4 fourth quarter touchdowns this season. 2 came in one game. 1 of them was on special teams. And then defensively, 30% of the points you've given up this year came in the fourth quarter. Now, if we would like to get like a standard, essentially, if, you know, I guess maybe what math would tell you is a normal percentage of points to give up, it'd be 25 if you're evenly distributing points surrendered in a quarter. But 30% of your points have been given up in the fourth quarter so far this season. And then if we want to extend it to not just dominate the fourth quarter, how about dominate the second half, right? That's one thing maybe we can look at and say, how have you been after halftime? Because if you want to take an evaluation on coaching, part of coaching is making halftime adjustments, right?
Yes.
Seeing what you've got in the first 2 quarters, getting that sample size, and then regrouping at halftime, making adjustments to what you need to do or what you continue to need to do, like in this instance. They've been shut out 3 times in the second half. Been held without a touchdown in 5 second halves this year. That's half of your games. You go into the second half and you do not score a touchdown. The offense has only scored 5 second half touchdowns all season. And to give you a perspective of how low of a number that is, 5 second half touchdowns in 9 games versus FBS opponents. Let me clarify. That's against FBS opponents. I'm not counting South Carolina State because you're not going to play South Carolina State and teams in the MEAC every week. Not the league you play in, not the subdivision of Division I you play in. So 5 second half touchdowns in 9 games against FBS opponents. And to give you a perspective of how low that is, Arkansas has 10 in SEC play alone. Just in conference play, Arkansas has 10 second half touchdowns on offense. Mississippi State has 15 second half touchdowns in SEC play alone. So in your 9 games compared to so far like the 6 or 7 from Mississippi State, it's a significantly lower number. Mississippi State has 3 times as many second half offensive touchdowns in just SEC play alone than you do in all of your FBS games. And Kentucky, who we've all believed is cooked, the one team you actually beat in SEC play this year, has 8 second-half touchdowns in SEC play alone. So if dominate the fourth quarter was the standard, you're not dominating the second half, and it's not even been competitive in a lot of second halves. And that's how you're able to go into some of these fourth quarters somehow still in a one-score game, or in this instance, taking a lead into those quarters and still finding ways to lose.
Yeah, instead of finding ways to win. And I think that's the big difference. So when you look at that idea of why haven't they dominated, you can look at 3 different things. One, they always talk about conditioning. Everybody holds up their 4s. This is supposed to be the last man standing. It was supposed to be tougher than everybody. That has not happened. So that would be the strength staff. Got to look at them. 2, the coaching staff. Have they been able to get their players over the hump? It's been pretty evident that we have the talent to be in all of these games. The players have gotten themselves to this point. Have the coaches been able to get them over the hump, i.e., I keep going back to it, making the call when the call needs to be made. 4th and 1, you run an inside zone versus when we played Alabama and it was time for them to make a call and they came up with the calls that need to be made. 3, do your biggest players play when they need to be played? And we've heard the stats about Lenora Sellers at the end of games. He has been less than stellar. He's been bad, to make me be clearer in my words. He's been bad at the end of games. So 1, are we conditioned enough? Obviously not. 2, we haven't had coaches that can get the players over the hump, call the blitz when it needs to be called, call the exotic offensive play when it needs to be called. And 3, your best player has to show up in big-time moments, and he has not. That's a recipe for failure at the end of games.
Yeah, and I broke down the numbers on offense. Defensively, yeah, that's also an issue because what this tells me, too, is that your defense, despite playing well at times, has a shelf life in games. And that shelf life is about 2.5 or 3 quarters because the dam will eventually break, right? I figured there might be an element of dam breaking, which is why I thought that A&M was going to win this game and pull away late before we got to Saturday. I figured you probably can catch them by surprise offensively in the first half, but ultimately what A&M does will eventually get your defense down the road, but it did it in a more dramatic way than I could have ever predicted. Right?
Yeah, it honestly scared me a little bit in the first half because we were so on fire, and I thought they're going to be juiced. Like it just they can't sustain.
No, and that ended up proving true. We'll go ahead and get back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Richard is on the line, waiting patiently. Richard, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Good.
I'm going to tell y'all when this game was lost, and you may not agree with me, but you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. It was on our only decent drive of the second half. We get down to like the 33-yard line of A&M. It's 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3 or something, and we run that little inside handoff for 2. So it comes down to 4th and 1. We call a timeout, and then we run the exact same play. The same play that has not worked all year, the same play that got Shula fired. We run the same little inside handoff that has not worked forever. Those 2 plays cost us this football game. We lost all the momentum, and from that point forward, we were done. We were cooked, and that's called playing scared. Our offensive coaches all need to be fired after those 2 plays. I've never been so angry in my life after watching those 2 plays called consecutively.
Yeah,
I'm still angry about it. That's the football game.
I appreciate the passion, Richard.
right.
I appreciate the call. Appreciate the passion. But I fully agree about that play calling. I don't mind the decision to go for it. I actually really like that, especially considering it's about a 50-50 proposition. If you're making field goals outside of 40 yards, I completely understand it. And if you get the first down there and you're able to punch the ball in the end zone, that's a gut punch, right? A&M's making this comeback. They're starting to click on offense, but nothing says you have to click a little bit harder, buddy, than scoring right near the end of the end of that quarter, at the beginning of the quarter, and saying, hey, look, you can score a little bit, but we'll keep up. You just didn't do it.
Yeah, and you did, and not only on top of that, not only did you not get it, you wasted a timeout, which you were going to need later.
You were absolutely going to need that later, too. We'll continue your reaction because it is Reaction Monday. And Gray, hold on for us, buddy. We'll get to you to start this next segment here this morning on the early game. 803-404-6100. That's the number for the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. And I'll be saying that number so many times today, I'll be reciting it in my sleep. I see that number in my dreams because this is maybe the busiest Reaction Monday we've had out of the 10 so far this season. But we'll get to Gray on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Good morning, Gray. Welcome to the early game.
Hi. I just wanted to say, who should take the blame for our loss on Saturday? The coach or the team?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Great question.
Gray.
You got a future, son.
Yes.
I like it.
Oh,
great
you're
question.
asking the questions.
Asking the tough questions.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let's see. I do think, Gray, that this was a total team effort because I don't think the coaches did a really good job of adjusting at halftime because when you lead by 27 points going into the second half, you don't have to do much different, but you still got to instill in your team. You have to make sure they know you cannot take your foot off the gas because they should know better than anybody that this Texas A&M team is not 9-0 on accident. It's a really good Texas A&M team, and I still believe that this A&M team can win the national championship. So you know A&M's going to come out of the halftime locker room ready to play in that second half, and they're not going to quit on you. You got to have them prepared for that. You have to be able to manage the game a little bit better. And on the players, too, you have to be able to execute. You had chances in the game, especially on defense, to just keep A&M out of the end zone. I think the tackling got a little worse, Gray, in the second half. I think Texas A&M had way too much what I would consider cushion with the receivers. If you look at where the receivers caught the ball and where the nearest defender was, it left way too much room for A&M receivers to be able to cut up field and pick up a lot more yards after they caught the ball. So I think there's a pretty fair split between players just not maybe executing the game plan, but also not having the best game plan in that situation.
Gray, if we were doing fractions here, I'm not sure what grade you're in, but I would say 75% coaches, 25% players. That would be my split for that. And because I think the players played themselves up to their talent levels because they were in the game with a team that is obviously really good, playing well, number 3 in the nation, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the players played up to their talent levels, and it's my wholehearted belief that it's the coach's job to take the players and get them over the hump. And I don't feel like the coaches did that on any phase of the games, offense, defense, special teams. They never were able to get them over a hump by making a call or by managing the game well or by doing anything that coaches need to do. Because your players, you're playing as hard as you can. Obviously, the other team's going to make plays. We get that. They're on scholarship. But the coach's job, in my opinion, is to take what the players have given them and just use that to get them over the hump and get that win for them. And I think the coaches failed in that respect.
In terms of learning fractions, it was always brought to me because I was a very hungry boy. Pizzas, right?
Always
if we
a good
have
one.
4 slices of Blaine pizza here, you're giving the coaching staff 3 of those slices.
That's always a great way to look at it.
And that's that definitely makes a lot of sense.
That's just what. And again, Gray, we understand that when you lose, everybody has some part to play in it. So it's not nobody's without blame.
Yes.
But I just think that the coaches have to do whatever they need to do to get the players over the hump, and I don't feel that they did that.
Yeah, and when we review this too for Watch the Tape Tuesday, a lot of looking back on what South Carolina did defensively is going to be essential in terms of determining how much defensive blame we get to, because what worked really well in the first half was confusing A&M's offensive line with a lot of those stunts and twists, how they used Dylan Stewart to get in the backfield. Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas Jr. had awesome first halves in terms of disrupting A&M's passing game, in terms of making sure Marcel Reed did not have a comfortable pocket. But unfortunately, in the second half, whether it's A&M adjusting on the offensive line, which would be a tally in the props to the A&M coaching staff and the A&M players, or South Carolina not being aggressive enough when it comes to blitzing, when it comes to sending extra guys to the quarterback, doing the same stuff you did in the first half. There's a lot of things that can go into your defense giving up 28 points in a half based off of how well you played in that first half and making Marcel Reed make mistakes. You didn't do that at all in the second half. And I think that we can harp on the offense because that's what we've done a lot this year, because the offense, by any measurable statistic, has underperformed at a glaring rate, right? This may be one of the most underperformed units in America given the talent on the roster. But defensively, too, I think there was an absolute shift in terms of maybe attitude and willingness to get stops, because you straight up didn't do it unless A&M gave it to you.
Right, and you weren't able to execute down the stretch, and that's when you feel as a coach, if I can just get one more call to get my player in a position to make a play, because we're not talking about effort wise, it just seemed like something shifted and they weren't able to get the answer that they needed, and that's the ones as a coach you go home and you don't sleep over, because you didn't feel like you gave enough to get your team over the hump.
And from a mental fortitude perspective, too, you got to be able to handle the ebbs and flows of the emotions of football.
Exactly.
We talked about the airborne contagion of lemon booty and playing really tight, playing really scared. A&M handled it. South Carolina did not. Early game, third and long hour, coming up next. Look, football is a results-based industry. You can play really well in the first half, but if you don't do it in the second half, you don't get it done, well, the result matters, and the result is the failure. But for Midstate Roofing, for nearly 3 decades, Midstate Roofing has been the leader in roofing and waterproofing industry because they get you the results, the final results, and that may come in the form of getting proper advice or proper service. No matter what it is, they get you those results. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing has been designing and installing bonded systems that give you that protective guarantee to keep your operation dry and running long into the future, whatever operation that may be. And you can also protect that roof with a maintenance contract to add to the results, the positive results that Midstate gives you. Call them today, 803-356-1919, or always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. And remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. Like, you remember that Simpsons episode where I forget, or Milhouse gets broken up with or whatever, and Bart goes, "Oh, look, you can see his heart break in real time." Right here, you see the millisecond his heart breaks. You can see that for us, which I'm sure has a lot of entertainment value on its own.
For sure. Also, I would just want to say to callers, y'all have been excellent today.
Yes.
Y'all have been excellent today.
Been keeping it succinct, efficient, and a lot of good points have been made, and I've written down a lot of the best ones, and we'll get to a lot of those during winners. But we want to get out back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Harvey is on the line. Harvey, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are y'all doing this morning?
Pretty good.
Hey, my question is, and I mean, this has been a problem kind of with these all season, is that are we due for a coaching change? And I mean at the top. Is it time for, is Shane Beamer, is he on the hot seat, or is he getting kind of close to it?
It's a good question,
because
Harvey.
every year we're putting players in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like last year. Look at all the defensive players that went in, and we still did not get to. Well, last year was different. I take that back. We did do pretty good, but how do we drop from that all the way down to where we're at today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Harvey. I
Appreciate
appreciate the
call,
call, and I'll just lead off with saying nothing should be off the table, right? After a loss like that, you kind of have to look at this entire program and look at the big picture and look at what happened Saturday. And I think there is a whole lot of truth and some realization that this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? I think what happened Saturday was 12 plus weeks in the making.
Culmination.
It is a culmination of everything that has happened this year in terms of what your offense has looked like. You've had some severe inconsistencies with your offense this year. And there are a lot of times where you might put together a good first drive of the game and you don't do anything afterwards, or you're stagnant for too long on offense, or the defense plays well enough, but then ultimately you get into the second half or you get to the fourth quarter and it breaks, right? It's a culmination of everything we've seen this year all lead up into this, and that's where I'm kind of on the side of everything that led to this needs to be in consideration when it comes to discussing what the future of this program looks like.
Hard questions need to be asked and answered, right? There need to be some really tough probing questions to figure out how we ended up getting here from where we thought we were going to be preseason to where we are. And if we're all being very honest with ourselves, the second half of that game is what the season has been, not the first half of that game. The first half was fun. It was maybe a glimpse into what we thought it was going to be, but that has not been us this year. The second half of that game is exactly what we've done. From the defensive mishaps, maybe the missed tackling bug started to creep up on us, the lack of time management during in-game, the regression of awareness from the quarterback position. Those have been consistent themes throughout the year, and that's really who we actually ended up being, who we were in the second half.
The first half was kind of the mirage of who you thought you could be.
The best possible case scenario of who we hoped we could be.
You maxed out like what your ceiling was as a team this year in that first half, right? I mean, it's not like you were up 30-3 against South Carolina State at home. You're up 30-3 against the number 3 team in the country, the lone undefeated team in SEC play. And you were at their house, a place where not a lot of teams go in and win, and you gave yourself a 27-point cushion. But the ultimate microcosm of the 2025 South Carolina Gamecocks is getting outscored 28-0 in that second half.
Right.
And it's the running theme of the year is that you will sometimes do a good job of creating opportunities for yourself, creating your own luck, mixed with other teams giving you the opportunity to take the game, and refusing to take it.
We said this was a theme throughout the year. LSU gave us opportunities. Missouri gave us opportunities.
Oklahoma even did that first half with penalties.
Alabama. They've all given us opportunities, and that's where I fall on the state of we obviously have enough talent to play against any of these teams. Where I'm starting to question the organization is, do we have the coaching aptitude to get our players over the hump when they're in this position? And the answer to that question is no right now.
Yeah.
And that's it's firmly no right now. What the future holds, we'll see. But Harvey, to your point, I think as you said, Elijah, everything is on the table. Hard questions need to be asked, and they need to be answered in a direct, honest way. Because hiding behind what we've done in the past, hiding behind what the past has been here, that's not going to be good to get us where we're going.
And unfortunately, the way this program is, if we're just trying to notice trends, right? Since Shane took the job in December of 2020, you have yet to follow up an 8-win season with a bowl appearance. You went 8-4 regular season, lost the bowl game against Notre Dame. The following season, you go 5-7. And some people can maybe chalk that up as, okay, weird year. Offensive line was a mash unit for the entire season. Spencer Rattler was running for his life. And you would go only as far as your defense could take you, and it couldn't take you to getting to a bowl game over the course of 12 games. Okay, fine. Next year happens. You win 9 games. You do a lot of really special stuff. You were on the cusp of a 12-team college football playoff. Lenora Sellers came back. You could argue in terms of just overall talent. I'm not talking production. I'm talking talent, right? Like NFL talent. The 2 most talented quarterbacks you've probably had in your program's history, you brought to campus, had good first years, and didn't follow it up because now you're 3-7 and you're going to miss a bowl game. And it's determined you're missing a bowl game before the last 2 games of the season. It's the second time now that you have followed up success with an incredibly talented NFL caliber quarterback with missing a bowl game. And at that point, it's becoming a trend. It's no longer an accident now. It's becoming a trend.
As our great president said, can't fool me twice.
That's right. Fool me, we can't get fooled again. I think that's one of my favorite quotes ever because I can almost imagine what's going on in his head as he's trying to deliver that quote.
Fool me once, shame on me. Second time.
And then I can just hear like the drums in his head with "We won't get fooled again," and then the Who just starts playing in his head. That's exactly how I imagine that happened. But you know what? It's applicable here. It's definitely applicable here. We will go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Jack is on the line. Jack, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey guys, I'm disappointed in the game. I'm disappointed in the turnout of the game. We got to, take our hats off the changes that they made during the first half with the new offensive play calling and all the good things. It was there, but what I disagree with, all this firing coaches, doing this and that. I know they are the head of the case, but we still got to go back and look at these players. They got to execute. Mm-hmm. So I mean, come on, we got one of the top defensive coordinators in SEC. He had a bad second half. Nobody talking about that. Everybody want to talk about the head up top. But what happened to this defense with a 27-point lead in the second half, and we didn't make not one stop? Mm-hmm. And we're game to make plays, and we didn't make not one play. So let's not go that far about all this here. We just have to regroup. Hey, let's hurt together. Let's stay together. And let's go ahead and just finish the season out where it's staying at, and let's try it again. It's just another year gonna come, and let's see what we can do. Go Cox, and hey boys, I really enjoy y'all all through the year. Y'all great. Y'all have a great cast, and I love every minute of it. But all this and fire stuff, I don't think that should be the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate the call,
Appreciate
Jack.
the call. Absolutely appreciate the call. Yeah, I hear you. I think that's all fair. I think what Elijah was saying was that everything's on the table.
Yes.
Nothing should be discounted immediately. But you're right. There is an execution piece to it. Mm-hmm. Clayton did not have his best second half, along with the offense not being able to help him. It was a total team loss. If we're splitting up the blame pie, everybody gets a piece. Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to go hungry. Nobody can not take some part of the conversation of the loss that just happened.
Exactly. Like I still haven't even really made up in my mind what the future of next year should look like. 'Cause I think, like a lot of us, are collectively processing what the hell happened in College Station on Saturday. What I do firmly believe is everything needs to be looked at, right? Because when things go this horribly awry in a season where you firmly believed you had the talent to go farther, that was the entire motto in the offseason. Go farther. You got so close to a college football playoff appearance last year. You brought back maybe the most important pieces, and you brought in transfer portal players on the defensive side of the ball that you figured halfway through the year would be acclimated enough to get you where you need to be in that conversation. But you couldn't be further from that conversation right now, and that's the issue, right? It's not, what makes this difficult is it's not just one thing. You don't go from prospective playoff hopeful to being in a different stratosphere than everybody else on accident. That is not a one issue thing, right? It's a culmination of so much stuff throughout spring practice, throughout the off season, and execution in the regular season. And players have a lot of blame because ultimately they're the ones within the white lines. They're the ones that have to execute and be able to get it done, right? But I also look at development, and I remember going through, I was trying to find a password on my phone in like the memo pads, and of course, couldn't find it, of course. That's classic Elijah Campbell. But in the midst of that, I was looking through some notes that I took during the spring game. And how many times did I say, bad procedural penalty, false start, maybe this is spring game stuff. Oh, good explosive play, called back by a holding. A lot of things that I read in just my personal memo notes to myself to be able to use for shows later played out not just early in the regular season, they play out now. A lot of the same stuff that I was typing to myself about in the spring game are still happening right now. So what happened Saturday does not happen if it's not for stuff that happens over the course of an entire season and even before the season. Something was wrong in the preparation, something was wrong in the execution, and that's where everything comes together to culminate in you being 3-7 and losing some of these games in the manner in which you've lost them.
Yeah, and obviously the margins are thinner in the SEC when you're playing this level of competition. So Shane has made the statement, I believe he made it yesterday during his teleconference, is that when you look, it's not as if we're getting blown out. We're in these games to the fourth quarter. And he's using that statement and I agree with that statement, but we're coming to different conclusions. And my conclusion is, yes, we are been in these games. Yes, we have the talent to compete against these teams. We have done nothing as a coaching staff to get us over the edge. We can compete. We're not as if we're walking out in a talent deficiency anymore. We're not having that conversation at South Carolina. And if you want to take credit for that, Shane and staff, you can. You've recruited, you've brought these guys in. But now you haven't either developed them enough, you haven't conditioned them enough, or you haven't been able to get them to execute when the time matters. And those execution, it doesn't just happen on Saturday. It happens throughout the week.
Yeah.
And your practices haven't been set up to produce outcomes on Saturdays. And so I agree that we are close in these games. But close, you don't get paid for being close. You get paid for winning in this business.
They don't hang banners for close.
Right.
Right.
Close wins. They don't
Monday and Reaction Monday continues. We'll head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines before we get to Thorns, Buds, and Roses. Rod is on the line. Good morning, Rod. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Listen, I text one of my buddies. I said, man, you do know if they pull this off, he's coming for the media. He's coming for the fan base. He's coming for your dog if you didn't support him in the past, man. And lo and behold, he gets on ESPN bragging about what they did last year, man. And I'm thinking, God, you just can't keep your mouth shut, Doc. Come on, man. Just coach these boys up to a victory and leave it alone. Still want to run that mouth. But I'm pretty sure y'all didn't hear it the next time he was on the interview. During halftime, Todd gets him on the headset. You know how the coaches give their opinion what's going on with it. He calls out the listeners. I said, man, come on, man. Come on. I said this, and I keep saying it again, Doc. Listen, this man is immature, he's arrogant, and he's foolish. And like I said in a previous call that I had with y'all, Morpheus, he ain't the one. So, I'm done. Thank you for taking my call.
Great call, appreciate
Rod.
the call, Rod. Yeah.
Great call.
There was definitely a fair share of counting chickens before they hatched on Saturday. Now, I'd be curious to know what his surprise level would be. And if they lost the game after being up 30-3, that'd probably be a little more shocking to him than how well they played in the first half. But unfortunately for South Carolina, and I think there are a lot of fan bases in the world of football and other sports, games are played throughout the course of 4 quarters and not 2. Nick Harvey joins us from Team WIS as an emergency visit because after he sat in that same chair with us on Saturday, we came to the conclusion that we'll need your refreshed take on this as well.
Well, I said it Saturday, and I'll say it again. I think if we weren't in a coaching carousel like we are already, and if this was any other big-name school, there would be more steam, I think, behind hot seat conversations. Like, I think it's a unique position for South Carolina because you have so many openings at so many other schools that coaches probably want more than this right now. Let's be real. I mean, this isn't a super flattering job right now. Last year, maybe, if Shane had, let's say, like gone to Virginia Tech or something like that and something crazy happened last season, it'd be one thing. And this would be a more entertaining job for somebody to take. I think now you're 3-7 and you're not going to make a bowl game and you're looking at all this talent and going, would I be able to inspire some of these guys to be better football players? And it's, I don't know. I thought I was going to have a different period of reflection over the past 2 days. Like, I thought I'd be able to conjure up a better thought, and I don't have much. I really don't. Like, I feel the exact same way I felt Saturday. This game was theirs. They had a chance to close it out. There wasn't enough plays made on the defense in the second half, but they didn't get a lot of chance to breathe in the second half because the offense couldn't stay on the field. So, super disappointing loss. You know, I think it would be an inopportune time to depart with the coaching staff with all the things that are going on in college football. But depending on how these next 2 weeks go, conversations need to be had, I think.
Yeah. It goes back to kind of everything still being on the table. And while we still have some time here too, it's Monday. Preston's been watching, which means it's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses. Let's get that outcast in here.
Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorn on the early game. 107.5 The Game.
Well, what a weekend. We witnessed history.
Oh, yes, history.
Unfortunately, we were on the wrong side of history. But let's start with our Thorns because we were up 30-3 at halftime. And my biggest thorn was the video that South Carolina football put out at halftime showing Shane Beamer going into the half, pumping up the crowd, celebrating, making a wild entrance into this, going into halftime when you knew you had a second half to play. We understand that Shane is a high, emotional guy. We understand this is something that he's been doing. And so this is not about Shane. I just generally do not like coaches pumping up the crowd. Don't do that. You don't need to do that. You focus on coaching your team, the crowd will take care of itself. I don't really like players pumping up the crowd, but I'll take it from the players. But I need the adult in the room to not be doing that. The adult in the room needs to be focused on the task at hand. You can, if he was walking in, if he could have gave him maybe just a little bit of like fist bump, a salute, prayer hands, as you said, like, hey, I really appreciate y'all being here. We're gonna finish this. And then you walk in, maybe a little spurs up. That could have worked. Yeah. But the outrageous actions going into that halftime, and it could not have been worse. So, talk about things aging poorly, could not have aged poorly. So that was a thorn for me. B, it's not going to stand for buzz this week. It's going to stand for booty, because this week we had the rarest lemon booty cases. If you don't know what the lemon booty is, that's when the butthole gets tight like a lemon because you just had to pucker up. And those Texas A&M fans, they were tight. The lemon booties were in there. They were quiet. They didn't leave, but they didn't know what was going to happen. And then we had the ultimate reverse lemon booty, because then South Carolina fans got tight because they start scoring. It's 31-10. It's 31-17. Oh, no, it's 31-24. What's going to happen? The lemon booty is tight. Mm-hmm. And then, Elijah, the rarest of rare.
Oh, first timer.
Triple airborne reverse double lemon booty for both staffs, because Mike Elko decides to throw a quarterback option pass to his quarterback on the 1 yard line. What are you doing?
With a chance to really not put it out of reach, but I mean, force South Carolina's hand.
What a ridiculous call that was. And so then the Texas A&M gets the lemon booty, and then we're back, and then all of a sudden it's 4th and 12 and the game ends. So, yeah, B is for booty this week because the lemon booties were tight everywhere, which usually is a great game. Unfortunately, we were part of it. Roses, the roses for all of us this week. As Carolina Gamecock fans, I assure you, prayer hands are with you.
Thank you.
Much blessings to you. You need some roses. Smell the roses. The sun is shining, whatever cliche you want to have. But that was a definite difficult one for us to handle. So, Elijah and Nick, those are our thorns, buds, and roses for the weekend.
Yeah, roses to you for, especially if you called in and you still ended your call with go Gamecocks, or you're still sticking to it. Like, that's the type of loyalty that is the glue of SEC fandom, is still, even after that, still calling into the local talk radio station.
We appreciate
sharing your thoughts. We absolutely appreciate it. And I used to make this joke with my girlfriend all the time. It's like, if you ever want like a question my loyalty of whether or not I'm sticking around, just know I've cheered for the New Orleans Saints for my entire lifetime, right? And I'm still a fan. That is applicable for the South Carolina Gamecocks, right? So salute to all of you. We'll continue taking your calls, reading your texts, because we have plenty of them. And we try to get to as many of these as possible, but we'll try to empty the clip here coming up next here in the early game on Reaction Monday.
Western Lane at Coon Road, a report of an accident. Also on Two Notch Road near Clemson Road in Lexington County on Two Notch Road at Muddy Springs Road. Jarvis Clapman Boulevard at Augusta Highway. Also Fort Jackson Boulevard at I-77. And stop-and-go traffic, I-26 eastbound between exit 101 and I-20. So things a little bit slow this morning. Forecast-wise, things looking pretty good, though. 67 for the high today. Now, that overnight low will be kind of like it was this morning. Overnight low of about 38. Then on Tuesday, 72 for the high, 80 on Wednesday. And our mornings will start off a little bit warmer. Currently 40 on the early game.
Go back to the Firehouse Subs text line. Before we get to Tim on the phone lines, we'll get to the text line here because there's a good text from Marshall that says the worst part about the whole thing is no one should have expected to win that game by 27 points. And then he goes on to say, but the inexcusable nature of losing the game the way we did has to be looked at right at the top. And I think that first part where he says we should not have expected to win that game by 27 points would have been a really good coaching point going into halftime, saying, hey, look, it's a 30-3 right now, but we cannot go out there and afford to play like we're up 27 because that team, that number 3 team in the country, we're in their building, they're not going to let you win by 27. You can still win this game, but they're going to give you their best punch, their fastball coming out of the break. And what you got to do is make sure that they don't get enough hope. They're going to create some hope because that's a really good football team, but you can't let them generate not just hope, but confidence that they're going to come back and win the game. And I believe it was after that second touchdown, you could sense confidence on A&M's sideline that they were going to come back and win that game.
Yeah, and that's why you celebrate when the thing is done, when it's over. Also, you have the expectation that it's going to be difficult. You know this is the SEC. Yes, you might have jumped out early, but there's still a lot of ball left to play. And as they used to say, you know, those guys are on scholarship too, or they're on NIL too. They got more, however you want to slice it. They're not going to lay down for you because you're not special. They have something that they're fighting for, and you have to feel like things are going to happen. And that's why I keep going back to this idea that when that train started turning, it's up to the coaching staff to come in, settle everybody down, make a call, get the team together, and stop the momentum that was happening. And it felt like everybody, coaches included, were looking around like, oh my God, this is happening. And that's okay for me to do as the fan. I'm
For
supposed
us
to be up
here
here.
in the
Yeah,
studio
we're supposed to be
803
here
doing
freaking out, but you can't be doing that on the field. And it felt like that's what they were doing.
I completely agree. And yeah, I mean, there was a sudden energy shift. Like A&M came out of that half knowing they were going to come back and win this football game, right? Like they were fully aware of what was going to happen, and I don't think South Carolina did. I don't think the coaching staff did. I think they thought they were going to make enough stops just to maintain. But like a couple times we talked about it too, looking at the technical side of it, how soft the coverage was in the passing defense in the second half. Like guys weren't playing tight. They were a couple yards off and just wide open dudes across the middle. How many different times that like it still felt like you were playing not to give up an explosive instead of doing your job and playing the assignments properly.
And that didn't work out because they gave up explosives.
They still gave up explosives.
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, if you look at how many explosive passing plays A&M had, they had 10 for the game. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those in the second half. 6 explosive passing plays, which Stat Broadcast defines as passing plays of 15 yards or more. You still gave them up. And that's maybe another, if we do kind of determine that, yeah, like the coverage changed immensely from first half to second half, that the flaw behind playing softer coverage to try to preserve a lead is the preconceived notion of if we do this, we won't give up the explosive. Against those athletes, against guys like Casey Concepcion, Anthony Roman Bethel, those type of guys, Mario Craver, they're good and athletic enough to still beat that anyway.
Right.
And they've shown that this year, right? They'll show that on tape. They've shown that all season long. It shouldn't be a surprise whenever they're able to hit on some explosives. But to kind of use what you mentioned earlier, Preston, and what Lou Holtz used to say before leading you out to the field every game, don't flinch.
Don't flinch.
But A&M punched you back and you flinched.
And that's the thing. You have to understand that this is going to be a fight. They are going to they're going to punch you too. Don't flinch when this is happening. You're going to have to stay in this fight for the whole game. And they just didn't. And that's the failure. And that's why I keep referring to the coaches as the adults in the room. The adults in the room have to get you to that next spot, because none of those players have ever been there.
No.
None of those players have ever been there. The coaches have to be the ones to walk them through the emotions that are happening in that game, and they failed to do that.
We'll go back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Tim is on the line. Good morning, Tim. Welcome to the early game.
How you doing? I ain't called y'all in a while.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you.
I got some comments, so just bear with me. I might sound scatterbrained, but I look at this stuff a little different. It don't matter who you are. If you're doing a job, you're getting paid to do a job. I run a welding shop over here. If things go south, they own me about it. It's on me to straighten it out. It's on me to fix it. And if I can't, they're gonna get rid of me. It ain't nobody doing nobody no favors. I like Shane Beamer and all this and that and other, but I've fired some fellers down here that I liked a whole lot. They ain't doing what they're supposed to. You're getting paid to do a job, and I think if he could fix it, he already would have. And this thing right here bugs me. I'm 60-year-old, and Lenore Sellers has got more talent and if you can't do it, you need to be getting somebody in there that can. That's about all I got. That's the way I see things.
Appreciate the
I just
call,
look
Tim.
at it as an old man.
Hey, you know what? Like the old man perspective, still valuable. Your many years of life experience definitely comes into play. Appreciate the call there, Tim. Before we get to the break here, we want to get Adam on as well. Adam's been waiting patiently. Adam, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hello. Here's the thing. I don't want him saying tomorrow's podcast, we're so close. I'm tired of that. And also, don't be surprised if 10-plus players transfer. That's my prediction.
Okay. Appreciate the call, Adam. And to Adam's point and Tim's point, I think these are both like congruent schools of thought here. Tim talked about getting results. It's a results-based industry. Adam says he's tired of hearing that they're close. It's still not
You
going to
blew
work.
it, and now we're gonna have to waste the whole money to go through the material. So yeah, I think that's two great, solid, very solid points.
Yeah, and just accurate reflections of the frustrations right now because you have seen them get close.
To Tim's point, also, I don't love the idea of saying he's a good guy, because I will go on the default of saying people are usually good guys until they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we have reporting on some people that are not. Bobby Petrino, DJ Durkin. There's some there's some folks we are recognizably not good guys, but a majority of the people in these professions are good guys. So we have to take that off the table and get to, are they doing their job?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And if they're not doing their job, which they are very well compensated for, then options need to be explored.
Yeah, which is why that end of season reflection going to be big here in just a couple of weeks. We'll go ahead, take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to give our winners for today's show, including one of us on the early game crew, not on staff, but one of the early game crew on YouTube, making the trip to Texas A&M. And I want to give him a shout out as one of our winners, brought to you by Golden Spur, coming up next here on the early game.
Winners.
Oh, and we have plenty of winners here on a Reaction Monday, brought to you by the Golden Spur. And you know what? The goldenest. Not a word. I made it up right now, so I'm going to use it. Goldenest of winners. I got to give a shout out to our guy York on the YouTube stream. He watches every day. He interacts with us every day, and I appreciate him. He was interacting with us while he was in the stands at College Station. He made the trip to College Station. He was in the building for the game. And the first comment on our YouTube stream today was that he just got home just a few hours ago. So York, for putting in the work to travel to Texas A&M to support your Gamecocks and still make it back by early Monday morning.
I like it.
And still powering through because he's still on right now. He's still commenting back and forth right now. York is my guy. That takes extra dedication. That earns you a spot, York, as a winner on this show.
Great job, Nick. Do you have a winner? Would you like to suggest?
I would just like to continue to give York wins. I think that's all I got right now.
He was commenting along with us during the game. He had us on YouTube
we had an
during the
in-stadium
game.
report from York.
We did. An in-studio report. My guy, that is big J journalism.
So while we're here, so we have York from the live stream. Everybody, y'all did a great job today. Callers, y'all called in. You followed instructions. You stuck to the game plan. Everybody gave their sweet, succinct points about the game. Y'all did an amazing job. Callers, you all were winners today. Great job.
Yes, give it up. And y'all brought your fastball, too.
For sure.
I think Ernest was the one who said, instead of beamer ball, it was screamer
ball. Yes.
I'll add one in here. And it's the YouTube comments after you gave York a win, because everybody is celebrating York in the comments right now, and that's the coolest thing. All the people that are supporting one other person.
Yes.
getting
Support
a win,
York.
There's a lot of mutual respect amongst the chat.
We want to build a sense of community here on the show. And
Game ball
York's
for York,
one of
for
our
sure.
guys. So, yeah. Winner in a game ball. One of my winners also, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I'm going to take a page from ABC's Wide World of Sports here, because I think you've experienced every single emotion possible that you can have while watching a football game, just like we did on Saturday. The highs of figuring out or looking at this team and being like, oh, maybe we figured it out on offense. Maybe Mike Furry has like these play calling chops. Maybe this team has had it all along and you're finally turning it around. And it's not the season you hope for, but maybe this is a stepping stone to the absolute opposite, flip side of emotion that you could experience when your team loses a 27-point lead.
My absolute favorite thing that can happen on a football field happened during this game. We had a thick six.
Wait, Nick Barrett
scored a touchdown, and it is ruined by this debacle that happened. I should be in here celebrating the thick six that was, because it was glorious. It was everything you wanted in a thick six. He picked it up. He rumbled. He bumbled. He stumbled. He fell in the end zone. He did not have a great celebration afterwards because he'd never been there before.
He can't act like
he
he's
didn't
been there
know
before.
because he hasn't. And yet and still we can't celebrate it because of the lurch that we are left in.
Now, we're going to use this on Get on the Line later this week, too, but I want to get a winner to something I never thought I'd give a winner to, one of my worst, I most hated things on planet Earth. But it's a winner today, and that's cyberbullying. Because the cyberbullying of that Texas police officer who shoulder-checked Nick Harbor in the tunnel after he scored a touchdown, we haven't even gotten to that today because that gets buried amongst the pile of stuff you have to talk about when your team blows a 27-point lead in that situation. But you know what? That guy had to show his rear end on national television, and you know what? He got cyberbullied for it. Usually I will never condone cyberbullying, but you know what? If somebody in a position of power acts like that, yes, I condone putting somebody in their place for acting out.
I've rarely seen us as united as we were in that instance.
He got called a clown by Chipper Jones.
Oh,
Twitter.
Winner for Chipper Jones, because as you are my childhood hero, you're still standing 10 toes down, and you did not disappoint. Chipper Jones, Larry, you are a winner forever in my eyes.
Oh, man, so many winners that we can get to. So many. And we have so much to talk about tomorrow, too. We'll be back at 6 a.m. Tyler Head, Jack Feltry, they're next.
I knew that was coming. The unincorporated National Bridge.
Thanksgiving's coming around the corner. Look, it's faster. Coming up fast.